Hi, students. Welcome back to week 3 of The Giver. Hopefully, you read chapter 7 this weekend, and we will be working on chapter 8 today. Before we actually dive into The Giver, there's a few things that I want to make sure you are aware of. Tomorrow, we have our first MLQ testing. You will have to read the passages independently, no help from your teachers. This is what's called a cold read. Annotate to help your understanding. Answer all of the multiple choice questions that follow. Don't leave anything blank. The questions are A/B questions. So the way that works is if you get part A right, you get 1 point. If you get part A and B right, you get both points. But if you get part B right and part A wrong, you get 0 points. So be very, very careful to get those part A questions right so you can at least get partial credit. The B part of the question is always the evidence that supports your answer. So a lot of times the questions are really tricky, so be very careful. Okay, let's look at this tip. You will always have a question about an unfamiliar word. Make sure you use the prefix and suffix parts. Look for context clues or think about what is happening in the story to figure out the unfamiliar words. For example, this is from The Giver. What we observe as playfulness and patience, the requirements of a nurturer, could, with maturity, be revealed as simply foolishness and indolence. So, this word indolence is probably something unfamiliar to you. But after looking at this text, I see that playfulness and patience, that's something positive that's needed to be a nurturer. So, I'm assuming that these two words right here, they're joined together by and, they must be something negative because they say with maturity. That means when somebody grows up, the things that they thought were positive things for a nurturer may actually turn out to be something negative. So, looking at my choices, hyperactivity, laziness, love, and maturity, I have two that are really negative: laziness and immaturity. Um, I'm thinking about nurturer, so it could be immaturity, but I think it may be laziness because nobody wants a lazy person who can. I mean, who wants somebody taking care of their child who's lazy. Make sure you review the plot diagram because you will definitely have a fictional story on your MLQ, and it will probably ask you questions about setting and characters and character traits and the conflict and how things move the plot along. So make sure you are aware of all of the parts of the plot diagram and how it relates to a story. All right, let's get into The Giver. You have a few do not questions on your paper. You have to complete the questions. And then after reading chapter 8 today, you will have to return back to the do now and hook to write out a complete and thorough response. We'll probably do this together anyway. We're going to do a mock ceremony of 12. You're going to be given an assignment. Well, you probably were given an assignment if you're looking at this video now. And I really want you to think about your feelings based on the assignment that you got. If you were satisfied or not very satisfied. Because remember, the elders, they select and they assign all of the 12-year-olds. So just think about that as we move on throughout chapter 8 today. Our mini lesson for today is on word choice. Right here, you have some guided notes, and you will see on your paper that you need to fill in those guided notes. I'm going to go to the next slide so you can fill them in very quickly. Authors are very careful with the words they choose to tell a story. Authors know what kind of tone, authors' attitude toward the subject they are trying to create when writing. Words convey feelings, determine the mood readers may have after reading. Words have a denotative meaning, which is the dictionary definition of a word, and words also have connotative feelings, which is the feeling associated with a particular word. The author of The Giver went a step further with the use of word choice because she was trying to create a world that is void of true feelings and emotions. So you have a little more guided notes, and I'm going to click to this one so you can fill it in on your paper. Lois Lowry uses words that have a neutral connotation, meaning feeling, or she uses euphemisms for many of our everyday words. Euphemisms are mild or indirect words or expressions that are substituted for one considered to be too harsh or blunt when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. So let's take a look at this chart. I filled in some of the words for you. Let's look at the first row. House is neutral. You just get a picture of just a house. Well, when you say home, you may think of things that are warm. You may think of family. You may think of love. You may think of something that's really decorative. Um, in the book, they use the word dwelling, which is kind of negative because it doesn't make it sound like a place that you really want to live in or where somebody actually lives. It just looks like sounds like a place where you may go. Um, Try and fill out the rest of the chart on your own before you move on. Pause the video here, and try to fill out this chart, coming up with some positive, neutral, and negative words depending on where they're missing in the chart. So here's the chart all filled out. You have the first example: house, home, dwelling. Car is neutral. Vehicle would be positive because a lot of times you hear people say luxury vehicles and you think of something really fancy. Hoopty would be a negative word that still means the same as a car. Thin would be neutral. Slim would be positive, and skinny would be negative. But all of these words basically have the same meaning. They just have different connotations, different feelings associated with it. Overweight would be neutral, possibly on the negative side though. Fat is definitely negative, and thick, it's kind of been used as a positive term to say that people are pleasantly plump. Blanket is neutral. Comforter is positive because you get this image in your mind of something being warm and fuzzy and comforting, and something that you want to keep on you to keep warm. A blanket, it just sounds like just a standard item. And a throw, it sounds like something that's just being discarded. But all of these words mean basically the same thing, but they have different connotations. Let's take a look at some of the text. This is a piece of text taken from the book. It says, I have caused you anxiety, she said. I apologize to my community. Her voice flowed over the assembled crowd. We accept your apology, they all uttered together. The announcer names the exact emotion the community has felt. She says anxiety, because she wants to control the emotions. This is one part of making this a utopia, a dystopia, utopia. Then she says apologize, not sorry. She doesn't say she's sorry. She says she apologizes. And even a long time ago, when Asher made his standard apology, he said, I apologize to my learning community. He didn't say his friends. He didn't say, I'm sorry. He said, I apologize. So one of the things that Lois Lowry has done in this book to try and create this world that is kind of like void of emotions, so everybody kind of like stays the same and nobody has these crazy feelings. She uses words that have very neutral connotations, and she also uses euphemisms. Because if she said, I'm sorry, that would make the person more responsible, or it may evoke a stronger emotion, or really like they would take the blame. Okay, so you have to be mindful that in this novel, Lois Lowry uses connotations. She selects her words very carefully to evoke a certain feeling, and she also uses euphemisms. And you can refer to our poster that's hanging up for some of the euphemisms that she uses. So today, as before you go back to your reading, you have some practice pieces of text on your handout. I want you to see if you can circle the words that really have kind of strong neutral connotations and the euphemisms that she uses, and then move on to reading chapter 8. Thank you.